All right, we've got a great episode here today. We're going to be talking about branding and particularly beyond the logo. What this means for your business, what this means for your digital marketing, and how making sure you have a good brand and a good amount of continuity, if that's the right way to say it, for your brand across digital marketing, how this impacts your business, how this can translate into success for SEO, and how this can convert more of your prospects into leads and clients for your business. Check it out. Welcome back to Local SEO Tactics, where we bring you tips and tricks to get found online. I'm your host, Jesse Dolan, here with Sue Ginsburg. And Sue, we have one of our favorite guests with us again on this episode. Why don't you go ahead and set us up and reintroduce Taylor to everybody?
Sounds great. Today we're going to be discussing branding beyond the logo. And we are very happy to have our branding expert and branding specialist who works with us, Taylor, who will tell us some things that will be helpful for us to know and will help us all strengthen our brand outside of just the logo. To set this up, I'm going to give a few quotes of the day. The first one is Jeff Bezos, who says, "A brand for a company is like a reputation for a person. You earn reputation by trying to do hard things well." I really like that. The other one is, if you don't give the market the story to talk about, they'll define your brand's story for you. And that's a quote from David Breyer. He's a brand identity expert and author, speaker, et cetera, et cetera. And Taylor, I thought that you would love that setup because I think that that's a lot of what you're talking about. Before Taylor starts, I just want to share something that as I was preparing for this, I came across. Even big companies make mistakes, and branding is no exception. Before you get started, Taylor, I want to share what's considered to be one of the biggest branding failures of all times that many of us may or may not remember. It's from 10 years ago in 2013. It is when Burger King they introduced low-calorie fries. Okay, is that an oxymoron or what, right? Well, it seems like the people who eat at fast food chains eat there because it's affordable and convenient, and they're not necessarily looking for or looking at the nutritional value that the product offers, right? So Burger King had a good try, thought that this would be catchy, the whole stay healthy, um, low fat movement going on and everything. And it was a big flop. It lasted less than a year, and who knows how many millions and millions of dollars. And that went away, and they haven't tried that again. So the point of that story is, the smarter you are, the less likely you will be to make a big mistake like that. And Taylor is here today to tell us on a more uh, more uh, more of a scale that most of us can relate to, instead of what Burger King does and doesn't do, what we can do beyond our logo to build our brand. So Taylor, make us all smarter here.
Yeah, no, that's a great example. It's like the definite, know your audience, right? Know who you're marketing to. So that's a great example. Yeah, so when talking about branding, we're not just talking about the visual elements. That's really about creating a dependable and trustworthy experience for your audience. So just not only a logo, but it's just a logo is one part of the puzzle, but it's essentially your branding is your brand's personality, it's your values, your mission, your vision. It's the way you communicate in your copywriting and your marketing tools. And it plays a vital role in shaping how your audience perceives you. So I did want to tie some SEO into this. It is an SEO podcast. And so you might be wondering, I already have a logo. Why would I need all this branding? I could, use my marketing money for more SEO. But this is a really important, they really do go hand in hand. So I do kind of have kind of 3 points on why this has to, do with SEO and how they kind of intertwine. So the first one has to do with branded search. So we all know that Google, the SEO algorithm, it places a really strong emphasis on identifying like big businesses with a lot of public recognition. So brand searches. A good example of this would be someone in the South. If you're looking for sodas, you're not going to type in Coca-Cola. You're going to type in Coke. Up north, you might type in pop. But if you typed in Coke, Coca-Cola would come up. Another example of this would be like if you're looking for a smartphone, you wouldn't type in, Apple. You type in iPhone. So if you have a recognizable brand that someone would directly search, it's like doing SEO backwards. So it enhances your business name in Google's eyes. So this might take a while to really gain traction in your area. Obviously you're not Apple, but if you're consistent and you have decent like technical on-page and off-page SEO already, it's just, they really go hand in hand, and it might actually happen faster than you think. So branded search is like a huge, yes, Google loves it.
I think that's a really good one, Taylor. A lot of people don't realize the branded search part of SEO, right? And sometimes even the association with your brand. If people are typing for your brand and then another certain keyword or even a geographic area, those things matter to Google. And you can't always control what people are searching for, but for sure you can control your brand and try to influence, right, the phraseology that they're using, the name of the brand and things like that. A lot of times we see business names that maybe can be very ambiguous for what their product or service is, and just through normal dialogue and talk, business names can kind of turn maybe a little bit slang with injecting in maybe like a service or product keyword with the business name, things like that. So taking the bull by the horns and owning that, right, as your marketing manager, the brand strategy manager, whoever it is in the business that may be watching or listening here. Yeah, your points of this isn't just something that's on your logo or your business card. This really does trickle back to SEO and to search, right? What human beings are typing in the Google machine. So
Right. And another huge thing has to do with consistency. So if you're consistently, using the same information, the same logo, the same hours, from your GBP to your website to your storefront, like it's so important to have these consistent brand message and visual elements. They all kind of go together, and Google will recognize and understand that you're a trustworthy business because you're dishing out this consistent information, this consistent branding.
Taylor, consistency in branding and messaging is something that drives me crazy because so many businesses don't have that. And I used to do brand audits for businesses where I would look and see all the different messages that they had online and then present them and say which one of these are current. And every single time somebody in leadership would say, we haven't said that for 5 years. We haven't said that for 7 years or whatever. They don't change what they're saying across the board. And it ends up being very confusing to anybody who's searching.
Right. And the next kind of SEO, why branding and SEO kind of go hand in hand, has to do with conversion. So this is your user experience. You're basically you're maintaining your consistent, brand identity from your visual elements, your tone of voice. You're instilling this trust and confidence in your audience, your website visitor. When somebody arrives on your website, they're going to know that they came to the right place. They're going to trust, that if they fill out this contact form, they'll be put in touch with you. They're more likely to take action, whether it's making a purchase or signing up for a newsletter, filling out your contact form. They'll feel like this is a legitimate business. They realize and recognize your brand.
so I think Taylor, that was a good preface on. I know you're going to get into the weeds a little bit more here on some stuff coming up, but I think that's a good primer for everybody on, again, like you said on the front side. This is um, let me grab the right notebook so I can say the right title. Branding beyond the logo. It's kind of the theme of the topic here. And this is an SEO show. So we're definitely trying to tell people real quick, that this stuff matters for your SEO, for your digital marketing, for your website marketing. Maybe not as a direct ranking factor here, right? There's no tip or trick in this that's going to suddenly bump you up in the rankings with a new logo or some style guidelines and things like that here. But broadly for your brand, for your digital marketing, this matters, and it will help your SEO and your visibility and your I guess just your visibility in search by doing all these things, the right way on your website, social media, all your local citations and listings, having this be consistent, provides that message and that continuity in your brand. So building on that foundation, why don't you tell us how to do some of this? I know we're going to get into that next, so go for it.
Right. So, how do you build a consistent brand? Every time we get a new client, we always ask for their brand guidelines or their style guide. Because even as SEOs, we want to make sure we're carrying over their brand voice, their brand aesthetic, the colors, the fonts, everything that goes with it. And same with web design. If we would be doing the client a disservice if we took on a web design build and we didn't have these foundational elements already established. So the style guide, this is basically like a rule book for your brand. This guide should include your brand colors, your fonts, logo usage, do's and don'ts, even your tone of voice. So if you're a luxury company, you might want to sound more professional, more refined. Your imagery might want to come off more clean and classy. Whereas if you're a more approachable brand, you're friendly, you're the local bakery, you want more fun imagery. Your social media captions could be more playful and even use some fun jargon. Whereas if you're a Lexus, very nice, clean imagery and copywriting. So having a style guide ensures that everyone on your team and third-party vendors, marketing companies, they can maintain the same look and feel for your brand.
I'd like to interject here, Taylor. I think the style guide, brand guidelines, style guide, I think there's some different phrases that this can go by for everybody listening. If you're not familiar, style guide, right? It lives on by other names. This is very powerful. Just anybody listening, if you're the one that's maybe in charge of organizing the logos that you use, right? Or creating PDF or sales slicks, PowerPoints, whatever it is for your company. Or if you're charging other people to do that, how many times have what logo do we have? What logo do we use? Or send the last version of that thing we made up, whatever it is. Over time, I mean, we work, Sue and Taylor, with brands all the time that come to us, and there is this inconsistency, that look and that feel. People don't even know who's doing what. Um, this is huge for kind of reconciling that, having everybody be on the same page. But then also going forward, let's just say you need to, well, maybe get a new hat made up, right? With some embroidery or a patch or t-shirts, you're getting silk screened. This is very easy also to provide, like you're saying, Taylor, to those third parties. Like, hey, I need, some graphics, and here's our guidelines, obey by these, make it look like that. And it gives people, yeah, the guidelines, right? The lane to stay within for what they're doing for you should really reduce the amount of iterations you're going through when you're looking at things, gets the designers on the right page. Um, and I guess my question where I'm going with this for you, Taylor, is let's just say from an owner or manager perspective, I desire and envy these things, right? For all the reasons it's going to make my life easier. I'd love for you to speak to everybody listening as a designer, right? Somebody who is executing these types of things for clients. When you are presented with style guidelines, brand guidelines, or not, how does that change what you do for a client? Is that pretty impactful as well?
Yes, it really is. And when we get a new client, a new design project, or even an SEO project, if they already have these style guides established, they have strong branding, they know their mission, their why statement, it makes our job so much more easy. It makes the work we do so much better because we're all on the same page. There's no question of what we're going to be posting or creating on your site or on your GBP. We're all consistently getting the same message across. And this way, when your audience encounters your brand, when people are on your website, they should instantly recognize it. They should know they're in the right place. So whether it's your website your social media, your GBP, or even print and signage. Like you wouldn't want one logo on your website and then another on your building or your social media profile. And there, obviously there's some wiggle room. If we often, when we do brand guidelines or a logo design, will provide a client with a few options. It obviously looks the same, but it embodies the same elements. So they go together.
I think, well, in those scenarios too, like just think about it as a business, right? Maybe you're going to embroider some polos, right? Or put graphics on the side of your service truck, right? Having it look the same, so somebody when they're driving on the road, if they see your truck or your van and then they Google you, like, oh, that's the same company, right? Or they flipping through socials and they see on Instagram, oh, that's the same company. Sometimes you can just throw a logo at these design shops, maybe the t-shirt place or the vinyl wrap place, and let their artists kind of run with it, and it can get disjointed, right? And if we're trying to do one thing as marketers, it's be found everywhere and put our message out there, but make sure it's us, right? And this is such a simple thing, that hardly any businesses have that we engage with. Or I should say the percentage is very low of people that have this established when we engage with them versus the ones that don't. And once you get this, rolled out, your brand just has that consistency, like you're talking, Taylor, across the board. And I think that's huge, and it's not that hard to do. I guess subtle plug for everybody too, as a disclaimer: we provide this as a service. Taylor does this and lords over this for us. So if the stuff we're talking about is foreign to you, and if you don't have these things, but we're talking and you're going nodding your head like, yeah, that is good, I would like that, definitely reach out to us, intrix.com, intrycks.com, or through localseotactics.com. And we can connect you and have this conversation with you too. So a little shameless plug. Sorry to sidetrack you though, Taylor, but I just think that style guide is so important. I really wanted to underline a few things to help connect the dots to everybody there.
Yeah, it really is. And a lot of times people say, well, I have a logo. It's oftentimes not enough. It's great if you have a logo, but those guidelines really set the stage for your brand, your business. So very important.
Right. And that, sorry to belabor it, Taylor, but let's say if somebody's crafting a post for social media even, right? And they make a graphic and they slap their logo in there. You're talking about also, like, you should have the fonts you use, the colors you use also defined. So even if it's not, I guess we're using examples that really feature somebody's logo, but it's not even just about your logo, to your point, right? Like if you just post up on social media, hopefully somebody knows that was your brand's post, even if your logo isn't necessarily visible, right? That's kind of the concept here.
Exactly.
Relating some of this back to SEO, I've heard both of you say multiple times, SEO's job is to attract the right people to your website. But the other part that we can help you do too is to engage them and keep them there. You don't want to have a confusing website and they're wondering, wait, is this the right place? Or why does this look different? Where am I? And then they hop off. All of this helps keep them there and engage them too.
I think there's to that point too, Sue, there's a certain elegance, if that's the right word. Like if you visit a website that has this defined and has some intention to it versus something that's just been kind of glommed together over the years, I think that comes through in your brand too, not just from an artistic, right, and a style perspective, but just that first impression. Don't you think so?
Right. Yeah. Reputable business, definitely. And I think kind of tying into that, my next point for those brand guidelines is knowing your audience. So when you're establishing your brand identity, you really want to have your audience at the forefront. You want your message to align, resonate with your audience, with your brand values, your tone. They should all be targeting your audience that you're trying to engage. So a brand voice or brand tone, those are very niche terms, but it's basically the unique way that your business communicates with its audience. So it's a fundamental aspect of your brand's identity. It really encompasses the style, the personality, the language you use in all forms of communication. So marketing materials, social media posts, things like that. So for instance, you wouldn't want to use like Gen Z lingo if you're like a medical sales.
Hey everyone, just a quick message about our free SEO audit tool on localseotactics.com, and we'll get right back to the show. If you haven't taken advantage of it yet, go on out to localseotactics.com/free SEO audit, or look for the yellow button up in the top right corner, click that. And it's going to take just a couple seconds. You enter in the page that you want to optimize, what you're looking for the audit to score against. Enter in that page, enter in the keyword you're looking to get optimized for, and enter in your email address, click the button, and it's going to take a few seconds, and then it's going to send you off a PDF report via email. It's a great report. It's going to kind of give you an overall score of some vital SEO areas for that page and for your website at large, even though it's auditing this page. That's going to tell you some of the good things that are happening, some of the bad things that are happening too, and give you basically a checklist of some things that you need to shore up and what you can do to improve your SEO for that page, for that keyword that you're auditing. Now, you can use this as many times as you want. You can do multiple keywords, multiple pages, multiple keywords on the same page. You can even use this to check against your competitors, right? If you want to do a little reverse engineering, see how they're scoring for a certain keyword, what they may be doing good that you're not, and some things to improve there. So lots of different ways to use it, completely free. Again, go on to localseotactics.com/free SEO audit, or look for the yellow button in the top right corner of the website. The thing for me, what's coming to mind, just kind of recent here this summer, but the whole Barbie movie and then the Oppenheimer, movie at the same time. One's pink and bubbly and Barbie, and the other one is gray and somber and like nuclear bomb serious, right? Um, both definitely had their own style, right? Like just from the marketing, from the movie, everything else. I don't know if that's a good parallel, right? But just those were two different audiences, and that was the whole thing, right? Like husband and wife or whatever could go see the movie, and you can go see Barbie, I'll go see Oppenheimer. We'll both be happy going to see a movie at the same time. I know a lot of theaters were running, right? Like that kind of a package just to cater to people, but that also speaks to them knowing each film, if you will, knowing their audience and who they were targeting. It wasn't the same people, right? So whatever examples we use, I think that's more important than people give it credit to. So
Um, Taylor, your point about talking to your audience, it has something to do with your logo, something to do with your tone of voice, something to do with the messaging is really, really powerful. And a lot of businesses don't think about that. You wouldn't, if you're looking for diamonds, you're looking at high-end jewelry stores. I guess they're all high-end. Um, there's certain fonts that would just totally negate the impression you would want to give.
Right. That's
And we don't want to do.
And if you have this, brand that resonates with your, the colors, there's a lot of color psychology out there. But if your branding, if your message really comes across, the return on investment, like if, you're really targeting your audience, you're going to get that conversion. Like somebody's going to purchase from you if they see like, okay, I like this brand's mission. I like this brand's message that they're trying to convey.
So true. So true.
I think when you say know your audience, I think there's also it also cater to that audience, right? As you're going through this, Taylor, what's coming to mind? An example I know we've used on the show before, Sue. My wife doesn't. She used to drive a Ford Flex. Doesn't drive it anymore, and she's extremely happy about it. She finally got rid of the dang thing. But it's an example that I would always use where it's the 1/3 rule. A Ford Flex is like a big boxy station wagon type vehicle, right? Kind of polarizing. A third of the people love it, be it for form or function, whatever. A third of the people hate it. The ugliest damn thing in the world, wouldn't drive it, blah, 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 blah. And a third of the people are indifferent. And that's a third rule. I didn't come up with that or observe it, right, or coin it. But that's the concept, for making a vehicle like that or a lot of other things in sales and marketing. And same thing here, know your audience, right, is what you're saying, Taylor. And I'm expanding saying cater to your audience, really to hammer home your points, like the fonts, the tone, the mood, all these things that you're talking about for your style and your brand. They should be targeted towards who is your ideal audience, not broadly everybody, because you're not really going to resonate, to use your word. You're not going to resonate with somebody if you're not really speaking to them, if you don't really know them. And just like that Ford Flex, it was made just for a very specific, audience, right? And that's who loved it, and that's who really enjoyed that brand. You're not going to care about the other people. And if you start to cater to them, you're going to lose your target audience. So I think a lot of that is in play here. If we're going to put this amount of attention on it, to your points, why this is so important, you really do got to know that audience and then speak to them through these graphics, this style, and whatever it is that you're trying to have the consistency on. So
Right.
get them to convert.
And I think certain groups, they love that personal touch. Like this brand is for me, this brand really speaks to me, and I think they're more inclined to purchase from you if they feel like they've been, you know, they're the center of attention. Your customer is the center of your business there.
I was just going to say, to me, Taylor, that's not always a conscious thing. You're not always thinking, oh, they're talking right to me. You're just like thinking, I got to buy this. Yeah, this is the right thing for me.
Yes.
And what you said earlier, Sue, I was going to piggyback on, for SEO, we get found, right? Hopefully you do a Google search and one of the landing pages we've helped you optimize for your business shows up. And now it's about converting and making sure that they know they're in the right spot. And hopefully when they hit that landing page, yeah, the logo, the tones, the mood, the fonts, everything speaks to them as you two are saying here. And now that person isn't going to visit another website. You're going to stay where they're at. They're going to patronize you or opt into your form or whatever it is and give you that chance at business. If you landed on a page that was maybe disconnected from that for that audience, you're not going to have that chance, right? So anyways, sorry to belabor it too much there, Taylor. We'll let you move on, but I think those two, the style guide and the knowing your audience, they go hand in hand so much and are so important. Hopefully, we got to emphasize that for everybody.
I have a quick, funny story that I think is a great example of good branding. One of my neighbors' son moved back home, and he's driving his dad's minivan. And this kid is like this hip 26-year-old kid, and like I actually said to the dad, like is he looking to meet women and date? Because I don't really think a minivan is such a tip magnet. They do good
Yeah.
branding, but it's not to a 26-year-old single guy.
Sounds like he's trolling for soccer moms. I don't know. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't.
Got the carpool.
Mhm.
Anyway, go ahead, Taylor. Get us back on track, right?
Right. So my kind of third, how you build that consistent brand identity, be consistent. That's like the biggest thing I think with this episode to really come across is maintaining consistent branding across all digital platforms is so crucial. So this is like your favicon, your social media icons, anything that's going to reinforce your brand identity. And also coming to like third party listings. So if, for instance, your business is on Yelp or Nextdoor, ensuring that your business details and visuals, as well as like the description, is all consistent with your style guide, your branding, and it really helps create that seamless brand experience. Social media too. It's so essential to kind of have a central record of your brand's visual elements and assets. So tools like Canva, Adobe has a ton of products that you can create templates and content calendars to keep consistency across all platforms. So it's really great. And when you have that style guide that's like, here, use this font, use this colors, you can even delegate, this task to your marketing manager, your SEO team, just to make sure everything is in line with your brand's tone and visual style.
We'll drop the links to Canva, Adobe, and any of the resources we mentioned in the show page for this for everybody if you want to check those out for what Taylor is mentioning. Just want to put that out there.
Really, really good point, Taylor. And it just makes me think there's so many more places that you have to be consistent now than ever.
Right. And if you make a change, make sure that you're keeping that in mind across all platforms where your business is displayed and has information out there.
Great point.
Taylor, you mentioned a favicon in one of your ways to stay consistent. Can you tell everybody what that is in case somebody heard you and they don't know what you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're on a website, if you look up in the tab of your browser, you'll see, a little icon to the left of the URL, and that is your favicon. It's like your website's branded tab on your search engine. So and it's actually funny. I don't mean to dog Squarespace, but as soon as I go to a Squarespace website, it has that little Squarespace favicon, unless you change it. But if a lot of times, if a business is starting out, they haven't changed it yet, and I can instantly recognize, like, oh, that's the Squarespace favicon. So just another thing to kind of keep in mind.
And I think I'd like to bring some of this back to SEO again, quick for everybody. If anybody listening or watching is still kind of like, hey, maybe this is out in the ether, maybe it's not that important, or how does it apply for SEO? Just picture yourself doing a Google search and viewing that SERP, search engine results page. And like Taylor's saying, if you're in a scenario where maybe you're even doing a brand search for your brand, you're going to get your website, and I think in some searches Google will show the favicon, or at least maybe even a featured image. Um, but then maybe your Yelp listing, your Google business profile off on the right hand side, like in the knowledge panel, maybe your social media stuff shows up. And even if you're not doing a branded search, I guess my point is, if on the search page people can see your brand, your logo, your colors multiple times, there's a psychological effect there of you must be good, you must be dominant. Not that different than if you're showing up in the map pack and in the natural search results, um, on the SERP, right? There's only so much real estate that's there. Let's just say you can see 7 to 11 different listings between the map pack and organic results. If people can quickly, and not even mentally, if just subconsciously they can see, your brand multiple times on that page, you're going to look more authoritative, right, and more dominant than other players. And that should lead to more clicks to your website, or lead to more opportunities for you to win that business, or at least be in the game. And these are things that are within our control, right? At the end of the day, we do so much work to try to show up in Google or try to break into an algorithm on social. You know, these are choices we can make. As Taylor's saying, you get to choose your favicon, your logo colors, your theme, your branding, all this stuff. Make sure you're intentional, and then make sure you're consistent across the board in all your digital marketing. So you're always giving yourself the best chance to, break through, right? So hopefully that makes sense to everybody
And
else.
actually, Jesse, you brought up a great point, like with your competitors. Like, let's say there's two companies that offer the same service, but if one company, their website, their branding is off, it's not consistent, the website doesn't look cohesive, but the others does, like that's gonna beat out, it's gonna really determine your choice if, you know, the site is more cohesive and makes sense. And also if the message resonates with you, of course.
Even if they're ranked above you, to your point, like these things are important psychologically and are going to influence, our behaviors. So definitely something to pay attention to.
And kind of spinning off that, my kind of last how to build your consistent brand identity, and it's making adjustments. So this is not to defer anything we've mentioned before. If you already have a logo or some basic guidelines, you might need to make occasional adjustments to stay on course. So your branding strategy should be pretty flexible, especially if you're trying to stay relevant. Let's say your logo is like 7 years old, you're trying to gear it towards a new generation or a new kind of target audience. So respond to the changing market conditions and better connect with your audience. If it means changing a light blue to a dark blue, it could be something as little as that. So it's not about completely reinventing your brand, but rather fine tuning it to meet the changes and the needs of your business. So don't be afraid to make those necessary tweaks and adjustments. And it's part of the journey of brand resilience and longevity. So
Well, I think if you're doing this in the way that you're saying, I should say, if people out there listening and watching are doing this in the way that you're saying, having the style guide, brand guidelines, basically these official records, right, of what you're doing, your brand, and you do make those adjustments, it's easy to just update that document, if you will, right, or that resource, to make sure you're consistent going forward. You're not talking, correct me if I'm wrong, at least, you're not talking about like willy-nilly ad hoc changes. You're talking about changing your actual guidelines and changing your, the stuff that's already been established. Um, I don't mean to catch you off guard here, Taylor, but can we help people out for maybe some bookends on the pricing for this, or some options? I mean, I'm sure people can go out to Fiverr and find people for pretty cheap through some gig work opportunities to maybe redo a logo or provide some of these things. Is there some either like tiered approaches, or just some spectrum of pricing and packages people can expect? Again, shameless plug, we can do all of this, and I'm not asking you to maybe quote our prices, but just what are some options, some resources, and some pricing people could expect to go through? Maybe just, yeah, the style guide, brand guidelines, logo remastering, things like that.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm not one, you can DIY this if you know that you want to use a certain typeface, or for instance, if you already bought a logo years ago, you want to stick with that logo, you can determine like these are my colors. I'm going to lay it out for you. And this is all things that Intrix could do, or somebody freelance, Fiverr, a different company that often does like a la carte services. So if you need those social media templates and you want a business to take your logo and provide you these guidelines, they could do that. And Fiverr, you could spend $5 to get a logo, or you can spend $30,000 to get a full brand package. So it's really a sliding scale, and you're gonna get what you pay for. Um, there's so many online resources now, again, like DIYing it yourself. Like, there's no shame in that. If you have somebody on your team, maybe you already have a marketing agency or an SEO web design agency that wants to help you out to kind of pull in these elements and kind of create this cohesive brand guideline style guideline for you. It really ranges, but it's so worth it. And I think the ROI that you'll get from it, just envisioning like somebody converting on your website just based off they like your brand.
100%. No, I think it's spectacular. I think it's kind of a hidden area of marketing that a lot of people, especially if we're in the SEO space, really, you're not mentally giving it, the energy or the thought that it needs. But at the end of the day, kind of like I'm paraphrasing what Sue said earlier, for SEO, we're about getting you found, making you visible, which means seeing your brand literally, right? And that's when this stuff takes over to help convert. And even if it's not converting, keeps you in their memory, right? Or the continuity of it all. So yeah, I'm glad we got this topic out there for everyone. Did either of you two have any other thoughts to share? Anything in closing for everyone out there before we wrap it up?
This is really, really helpful, Taylor. Thank you. And it's so much more important than people think it is. And it really can make or break a purchase decision.
Right. And don't be afraid to ask questions. I love when clients reach out and they ask me my opinion on if they think they need a new logo. I love to share my professional advice and kind of let them know, where they stand in terms of design. But your brand, it's like your promise to your customers. It's not just about what you say, it's about how you make people feel, and consistency in every aspect of your branding really keeps that promise and builds a strong lasting relationship with your customer.
100%. And I think everybody thinks about, when you say branding, kind of to the title here, it's not just your logo, right? It's beyond your logo. It's really a lot more than that, even though we maybe gravitate to that first for what it looks like or the colors and stuff, but way more than just your logo here. Taylor, thanks for sharing all that with everybody. I hope everybody listening and watching is pulling something out of this, either something you need to do right away today, or maybe more of a long-term vision for your brand and for your company. But you're definitely going to get, ROI on an investment into this, especially if it's part of a broader approach for your digital marketing, whether you're just starting out, maybe relaunching a brand, or just recognize it's been stale for a while, or like I was alluding to earlier, maybe you're crazy fragmented. You got 7 different versions of your logo out there for 7 different people who have made these different things for you over the years, and you want to wrap your arms around all that, get it consistent. Whatever the reason, a lot of good stuff here today. Check the episode page. We'll put the links into some of these resources Taylor mentioned. And if you have any questions, or if you want us to help you with any of this, reach out to us via localseotactics.com or intrix.com, and we can help you out. Sue, thanks for jumping on. Taylor, thanks for sharing all that. Everybody else watching and listening, thanks for checking into this episode. Catch you in the next one.